1942. The location is unknown. Namor, the submariner, stands in attendance at the shadowy council in the castle. Without any shred of patience, Namor demands to know the reason to be summoned here. A woman, in a tall podium, addresses Namor, telling him that this is but an invitation, and goes straight to the point, telling him that she and her colleagues have learned that the weapons of Atlantis have been pillaged, and Namor's people have been used for a cross purpose. Weeks later, in France, Captain America encourages a group of soldiers before leaping from an airplane. No one cares about the words that spill out Steve Rogers' mouth, but Captain America can inspire them, if not with words, with actions. The Cap cuts off his parachute and grabs a passing enemy plane, making his way to the cockpit and throwing out the pilot. But as the Cap tries to pilot the plane, Namor shows up, landing the Cap ahead. On solid ground, Captain America asks Namor what he's doing here. The submariner answers that this is his war too. The Cap tells him that the real fighting is taking place a couple clicks from here, but Namor tells him that his battle is in the opposite direction. As they approach and eavesdrop on a group the Captain knows very well, the Thule Society, Hitler's personal army of occult specialists. A man, with half his face burned, gives orders to move a weapon to the heart of the battle to evaluate its performance, but sensing the presence of Cap and Namor, he orders his soldiers to kill them. Cap and Namor join forces fighting the soldiers, and eventually Cap grabs hold of the scarred man, demanding to tell him what the Thule is doing here. But Namor intervenes, asking the man where the weapon is. The man responds that they're too late. They have claimed the power of the old gods, as Cap and Namor are shocked by a being in the possession of what the Thule calls the Kraken, an artifact of Lemurian origin with great destructive power that could change the fate of the world. Namor recalls his meeting with the Shadowy Council some weeks before, where the woman in the podium told him that the Kraken can only be used by one of Atlantean heritage, and the Thule have utilized methodologies developed by a former member of this council to create a soldier capable of wielding the weapon. Namor questioned how this council knows these things. If they wish to bargain with him, or if they dare to mislead him, he wants to know who they are. The woman then proceeds to explain that this covenant has gathered in one form or another for many years, and that their members have put aside their differences in hopes of preventing terrible threats to befall the world. She introduced herself as Vanessa Baker, in years past recognized by kings and queens of old as the greatest of detectives. She then introduced the rest of the council. Jefferson Chambers, a man that explored dozens of the countless worlds with which we share the universe. Ulysses Bloodstone. He dedicated his endless life to the destruction of the monsters that might otherwise ravage mankind. Wyatt Crowley, a gifted sorcerer, son of a witch, and something else. The Menace. For decades, he used his vast fortune, knowledge of alchemy and hypnotic powers to wage a secret war with the criminal underworld. Murderous Lion. He possesses martial and mystic arts that allow him to transcend even the most grievous injuries. Vanessa then finishes offering Namor a seat at their table. Back in the present, Namor leaps to fight the abomination, vowing to prevent any more Atlantean lives to be used as lab rats by the Nazis, while behind, Captain America dodges the abomination's lightning attacks. As Namor asks the captain to not get in his way, he is hit with a blast, but the captain throws his shield at the abomination and knocks out the Kraken from its head, removing its powers. The captain urges Namor to stop the abomination while it's stunned, and Namor, in a fit of rage, shreds its body in half. Namor recalls again his visit to the Covenant a few weeks back, when he questioned Vanessa Baker what the Covenant stands to gain from his allegiance. She answers that it is the hand of the Covenant that will save the world, but they need weapons and warriors. The threat she spoke of is real, and it's coming sooner or later. An allegiance with Atlantis would be a godsend for Namor, his people, and the world. Captain America approaches Namor, who stands facing the Kraken on the floor. He asks him what he is going to do with it, and Namor, grabbing the mask, tells him that this is not the treasure of Atlantis, but a totem of the Devourers, a nearly forgotten Lemurian death cult. He continues saying that the mask could be used to win the war, but to do so would crush the spirits of his people. Namor explains that the thing that wore this mask was stitched together from the bodies of his people. The Thule enslaved the dead to create their own foot soldiers, grown in a lab to fight for their cause. Namor then destroys the mask with his bare hands and flies away, leaving Captain wondering if Namor thinks of him just like a soldier grown in a lab. But the Cap concludes that it doesn't matter what Namor thinks of him. He's Captain America, born on the Lower East Side, given a boost by Project Rebirth, and those paratroopers fighting just a few clicks out need whatever glimmer of hope they can get. At the Covenant's castle, the man with the burned face that Namor and Cap fought earlier is addressed as Doctor while admiring the Kraken. Jefferson Chambers tells him that if he is to stay in the Covenant's good graces and stay alive, he's going to have to end the Thule Society, and that he will serve their purposes for as long as they deem him useful. The Doctor points out that although the Covenant have pieced the Kraken back together, they still need an Atlantean to activate it. Leading the Doctor through the halls, Jefferson and the Covenant show him a room filled with water tanks with Atlanteans inside, while telling him that they have decided to pursue secondary options after Namor refused to join them, and that while these measures don't sit well with some of their members, he suggests that the Doctor start his work immediately, since the future will need an army to protect it.